Guardian Con 2019. Is it 2019?
Yeah. Yes,
Yep.
2019.
Is it 2020 yet? I feel like this year is
Not
flying
yet.
by.
It feels like it should be.
How we doing, everybody? Can I, really quick, just get a reminder, what is haunted? Moon's haunted. All right. So, hello, my name is Dylan, DMGO4, or Bread Father, as some of you may know me by. I am joined by creative lead Rob Adams, and let's see, what is your title? Amazing person, experience designer Vince Van Pelt Reeves.
Hey, guys.
So Rob Adams, he was on the Cosmodrome right along with Deej, art lead on Cosmodrome, EDZ, and Titan. Vince, he's actually made a couple quests when you first met Mithrax, Saint 14, and Thunderlord.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, and I'd just like to say, this is a huge privilege to be able to do this. The missions that Vince and I and the rest of the team got to work on, they're only possible because of players like you. Super skilled, smart, connected players. You're the ones that make these experiences work. And they would fall down. They wouldn't even be possible if it wasn't for you. So I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause for being amazing gamers.
Thank you, truly.
Thank you, guys.
I mean that. We mean that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's not just from us, everybody at the studio.
That's right.
Thank you so much. So today we're going to be exploring the inspirations behind the secret missions of Destiny 2, Whisper and 0 Hour, what went into handcrafting these experiences. Programming note, this is a live ride-along. We don't actually have players playing through these as you're watching. It's a recorded video, but that does give us the opportunity. We can hit pause, we can go through some slides. We have a lot of concept art, that kind of stuff for you guys to see. So, y'all ready? Cool. So let's dive in. First up, we're going to be talking about Whisper. So, we'll be taking some questions from Twitter we asked a couple days ago. First one, and I'm going to say this to Rob. How did you choose the location, planets? What goes into making an entirely new area? And are the teams isolated from the entire studio so you can keep these things secret?
Yeah, so this is kind of a two-part question. So first of
Three-part.
all, picking I.O. was really a deliberate choice because we wanted a place that would have the kind of mystery, mystique, and isolation that a mission like Whisper would fit in. We wanted to think, like, where could we hide something? Where could we really stash something away in the Destiny universe? A place that just felt like it was off the beaten path a little more than, say, EDZ. And the second part of the question was, are these teams isolated from the rest of the studio, or do they work alone? Well, for Whisper, Vince and I worked a bit in isolation, and part of that was because of where our seating was at Bungie.
Yeah.
But part of it was also because we wanted to keep this absolutely secret.
Secrets are really cool.
Secrets are cool. And at the time when we were thinking about making this, Destiny felt like it didn't have a lot of secrets. I mean, this was about 4 months after the launch of D2. So we knew that sometimes things had leaked out at Bungie. It's a big studio, 650 some odd people. And the more people that know about something, the higher chance of it just leaking out by accident. So we felt like if we just kind of kept to ourselves, kept the group relatively small, and we just code worded everything, that it would have a better chance of being able to surprise all of you.
Yeah, and we talk about surprises. First time we see this is on Reddit.
That's right.
Many of you might remember this. Hey, I was walking around IO and I just saw this
And Vince,
weird
you should
thing.
talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince and I were glued
Yeah.
to Destiny the game. We were glued to all the streamers, and we couldn't take
It was a
our.
crazy day.
It was
Crazy day for us.
But
yeah.
this post right here is the first post. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but this was amazing. Like this.
Yeah, it
this
was
is what we
incredible.
wanted.
I like the first couple of responses were like, this has already been found. I'm not so sure. And then
I'm
a couple
just
people were
seeing
like, no,
Cabal
confirmed.
public
This is
events."
real. This is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super exciting.
Awesome.
This was our dream come true. We wanted a regular player to find this. Like, we didn't want it to be a high-profile streamer. We just wanted the average Destiny player fumbling around in the world, exploring, to stumble across this. And that's exactly how it went down. We were so happy.
Cool. So, when those players did find that portal, they start in the Lost Sector, right? But then they end up going somewhere Pyramidion, somewhere really inspirational, Vex themed, all that kind of stuff. Was there any other pointers in that direction for you?
Yeah, so I thought the Taken on Io fit a lot more than Taken on EDZ. It was a place where the Traveler touched down. It was really close to that lore with Zul and all of those things. So picking that, we had a lot of these vestigial little caves that kind of didn't get used, and we really liked the idea of hiding something in plain sight, where it seems like if you just turned over this rock, there was something there. And that was a big part of the inspiration for choosing Io and choosing that particular lost sector.
And Rob,
I want to add to what Vince said. So the feeling that we wanted players to have when this was discovered was that Destiny has big, awesome secrets, and they could be anywhere, right? So putting it in that lost sector, right in that public bubble, it kind of creates that idea that behind any rock or down any hole that you see in the game, there could be one of these out there. And that was
sort of one of the things that we just kept telling each other, like, Destiny has big, awesome secrets. Let's really emphasize that. And
yeah.
So what comes first, the exotic or the mission?
I think it's a mix of both. They kind of happen at the same time.
We should show that slide.
Yeah, man.
So this is a slide. This was a whiteboard exercise that Vince and I did together when we were figuring out what were we going to figure out for these ornaments? Like, what are these ornaments going to look like? What are they going to be called? What fantasies are we going to lean into? The power fantasy, the lore fantasy, and what names would support that? And then these are my little sketches here about, what would those guns look like?
I'm a big fan of Laser Worm, personally. Too bad we couldn't use that one.
Laser Worm.
Creeping Death is pretty good too, man.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
gonna lie.
This is how things start.
So we had a Twitter question from Ben Brown. What's the process like when choosing an exotic, and was Whisper always the plan?
Well, we can talk about Black Hammer. I mean, Black Hammer and Black Spindle, they had that celebrity weapon mystique. They had that mystery about them and that high level of difficulty to get. And they were weapons that excited players, but most of all, we really like the idea that we can play into nostalgia, right? Like,
that was very important, yeah.
There's a lot of D1 players around, and that nostalgia from D1 is a powerful motivator. So we thought, well, if we could take one of these exciting weapons, these celebrity, A-list celebrity weapons back, bring it back from Destiny 1, and plus it.
Yeah, the Shadow Thief Strike was a big, inspiration for this. We wanted to do a lot of justice to the original Spindle mission. And yeah, I think it heavily influenced this too. So.
Cool. Diving a bit deeper into just kind of going into that lost sector, seeing No Stone Unturned. You want to talk through this?
Yeah, Vince, I'm going to take a step.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so in these sketches, we were thinking about what the traversal might feel like as you're going down into this, you're delving deep into this cave and exploring the mysteries of Io. In this, we sort of had inspiration from a lot of different movies. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Lord of the Rings when they're crossing the mountain pass before they descend into the mines of Moria. We've even there's a circle on one of the ledges in the bottom left. So we knew we already wanted to put notch bosses in. That was a big important thing. Really looking back at some of the greatest moments of D1, like Vault of Glass and the notch boss, that was great. So in the middle left, you can see there's sort of a V shape. So we were planning to build false tells where the path appears to go on in one direction, but it sort of narrows to this point that you can't go any farther. And the actual path you're supposed to take is behind you. So that was a way for players to express their mastery. They sort of knew where the right path was, and as they're taking their friends through or experiencing it with them, there's these moments of discovery that we just really double down on at every turn.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you guys, if you can see the place, where is it? On the left side of the screen, the arrow goes up and then it turns back on itself. That little idea there on the whiteboard, that led to the red herring path that goes to the diamond room on Whisper in the first part of the jump puzzle. And this is where all these types of ideas are born, right here on the whiteboard. In fact, that's the first whiteboard drawing that we did, I think the day after we sat in that conference room. And
absolutely.
I think the day before this, I was in a conference room with Vince and about 15 other people on the live team. And I just looked at the room at one point and I said, who wants to do another Black Spindle?
I said, hell yeah.
That's right. So Vince and I were pretty excited. And we ran down and started doing this whiteboard. And this is where it was born, right here.
Perfect. All right, we're going to cut to some gameplay. We have Scott in the back with the Guardian Con tech team, and we'll be watching through just a little bit of gameplay here.
We can't see that. Does it come up on the other screen?
That's fine.
There it is. Cool.
There we go.
So you can see here, dropping into the proverbial hole in the ground.
Right, so we had it pause here.
It's paused.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about this moment specifically. This is the top of the waterfall, and if you guys have done this Lost Sector, as I'm sure many of you have, choosing this spot was really important because it was built for a really long time, and no one really had any idea what was up there. Lots of people explored that, so it was kind of the perfect spot just to put this hidden in plain sight thing. So when you go in there normally, there's a rock covering the hole, and then when you come in on the Whisper, there's no guys that spawn in, there's no enemies, there's only the boss fight for the Lost Sector, and there's only this blight. So the blight was kind of the first tell. As you jump up the ledge, you can see the top of the blight peeking over, and you notice, you're like, oh, this is different immediately. The shield door at the front of the Lost Sector was also one of the things that was a big clue. The timer, the shield door, this blight, the combatants not spawning in. So you sort of feel like you step into a different dimension. You're in this extra space that's been there the whole time.
I remember like some of the early playtests that I got to partake in with you guys. At first, you just had it directly underneath where you start in the Lost Sector, so you jump down, you just find the blight. It was really cool that you moved it up to that ledge because people were always theorizing, like, what is up there? Could something ever be up there? No. And then the day somebody found it, they were like, oh,
I forgot about that.
It's been there? Yeah, that was really cool.
Right underneath the bottom of the waterfall, there's a little arch, and that was the first spot we put it, and it was very, very obvious. So yeah, through iteration, we figured out that we should put it at the top of the waterfall because it's more hidden and it feels more like you're discovering, the secret path that's been there the whole time.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and play it up.
So this is going to be one of the first examples of expansion and contraction. And this is a thing that we do in Destiny a lot when we want the world to feel bigger than it actually is. So again, the idea that this massive place can be just on the other side of a very small opening.
That's it.
Are we pausing it here? Okay.
Yeah, we're pausing it here.
Yeah, so you can talk about expansion.
Yeah, so Disneyland does this thing where when you're in a big area like Adventureland and you go through a tiny walkway to get to the next land, the walkway that you go through is much smaller than the place that you were before. And what happens is, at the end of the day, you've gone through these big spaces and small spaces, and your memory of that place, your memory of Disneyland, is of a much larger place than it actually is. And when you go on Google Maps and you look at like Disneyland in Anaheim, if you guys have ever looked on Google Maps and seen how small it actually is, and then you think back in your mind about walking through there, they don't match. It feels really weird. And that's because they're expanding space and then contracting it.
So this is the first spot where we really we put the player into a tight hallway, and then we can go ahead and keep playing, but it will continue from there, and then you sort of get this big reveal.
I've always wondered what happened to that Vex right there.
Do you want to talk about the skeleton story?
Terrible things have happened to these Vex. Yeah, we don't want to talk about what happened to those Vex.
Ooh,
so again, we go through this really now look ahead. The spot where you have to go through looks like it's the size of a shoebox. That's the smallest hole that I could possibly make for players to get through. Again, I'm trying to get that compression, and then right after you go through that hole, you have the massive expansion where, oh my gosh, look how big this place is.
So we can see Winter Moon Bungie died just now on the first jump before this activity even started. That was not me. I
in the first jump.
It was not Cosmo.
Oh my god.
Deej maybe?
Yeah.
Don't
It's
ask
okay.
me.
It's not.
But go ahead, roll it.
So also, something else to point out. You see how the surface is angled like that?
Yeah.
I thought, how do we get the feeling of vertigo? How do we get this right here? How do we give people that, like, my stomach is falling out the bottom of my body when I make this jump?
It makes the ledges seem much more unstable than they actually are.
So this was inspired by an episode of Game of Thrones. There's a part where Tyrion Lannister gets held. The castle that has the moon door, he goes into this jail cell, and the floor of the cell is sloped downwards, out towards the sky. And when I watched that, I got this really uneasy feeling. I'm like, oh my god, like he can never just relax. He's always tense because he feels like he's going to somehow slide out of this jail cell.
You can see it right here, too.
And that's what led to all these, I think they're 15-degree angled surfaces. You can land them, but it's not as easy as it would be if they were totally flat.
Whose idea was it to actually push people off when they feel like they're about to slide?
This is definitely Rob.
A little devilish there.
Yeah, that's terrible.
So yeah, with a lot of this too, you can see the lighting. Rob put a lot of work into this, where there's the red, the blue, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, if we cut to the,
yeah, if we could pause this up really quick.
if we go back to the slide. So you guys notice the color choices and the whole vibe of the space for the jumping puzzle. Now, there's this artist named Kaisel Salim. He's from the UK, a really, really talented concept artist. He does a lot of cars, and I'm a big fan of his. And I looked at this car image, and I thought, oh man, like, what if I could build an environment that looked like that had the feeling of this like Lasertron Porsche from the 80s. I grew up in the era of Atari and kind of that digital Stranger Things kind of time.
Oh, we were really into Stranger Things at the time,
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And so we're watching Stranger Things at the time, and I thought, oh man, okay, that's going to be the perfect vibe for this. So when we go to this next image, you'll see how that picture of that car inspired the environment here. And I think it's great to use an image like a car for an environment because it's not the same. A car is not an environment, so you're free to think outside the box. If I had found a picture of an environment that was really neat, like I found really inspiring, I'd probably end up taking too much from that inspiration, and I wouldn't go outside the box as much as if I used a car or a house or something that was disrelated.
Really quick, did you watch season 3 yet?
2 episodes. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait.
No spoilers.
No
All
spoilers.
right, so let's cut back over to the footage.
So while we're going through here, the physics traps, the things that push you out, were really important because they also add a lot of tension to the traversal section. If there's something that will knock you out of the way, you kind of have to be perfect with your timing, not just your jump precision, where you land, how you move through the space, but you also have to make sure that you don't get hit off the edge by the thing. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So this
Go
is
ahead.
Bungie letting go of your hand.
Go ahead,
Exactly.
keep playing the tape.
Okay. So, Vince and I were thinking about this, and we're like, wow, the strikes, raids, raids let go of your hand pretty hard, but strikes and missions can be fairly handholdy because they have to reach a really wide audience. And we thought, well, with this audience, the people that are going to play this, we're really going to let go of their hands. I worked on platforming games at Naughty Dog for 8 years before coming to Bungie, and I wanted to do this crazy platformer. And I thought, okay, well, what if we do a platformer for like our top 15% or top 20% of skilled players? What would that look like, right? And that's what played pretty heavily into this. These false paths, these crazy jumps, these like really long distance landings on tiny objects.
Yeah, go ahead and hit play, and we can see the first example of the notch boss. It's right under here, under this sphere, sticking out on this ledge. So this is that very, very sketchy ledge, and this is the notch boss, and this happens.
And this player, who will not be named, fell right for it.
It's happened to all of us. It's happened
Yes.
to me.
It's
It's
happened
happened
to
to
me.
100
Not
times.
Yeah, it happened to you
absolutely
too.
not.
But that's great because a more experienced player can then show their friend, like, okay, jump over this thing. And that's a huge part of why this was made. A big part of why it was made is so that people could show their friends how to get through stuff like this.
Knowledge shared,
Yep.
Express your mastery. You've gotten really good at this super hard thing. I want to help you get really good too. So this is that false path,
The
that
red
V
herring.
that we had. So it continues red all the way down the side, and that cyan light coming out is the big tell for like, oh, this is actually the right path you need to go through. This is more physics here.
More hazards.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's too
right
bad.
down the hole. Okay, now this area, I was watching a lot of parkour videos at the time.
We'll pause when we
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
to the
let's-
end of this hallway. Just
Actually,
keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going. Because there's actually another hazard here. Not a slip and slide, but we'll see in a moment.
Got him.
Got him.
There's actually a speed you can make those
Go ahead and
objects
pause here.
where it'll actually kill the player. And we tuned it right to that point.
Yeah,
where it would
exactly.
do
The
that.
perfect point where the impact will
Yep.
kill you.
We just kept experimenting and we found that exact spot. So this section up here with these giant V's that come down and the platforms along the V's. So this is really deliberately designed so that you can show off you can always see the next player ahead of you, and every player can see you from behind.
That's why that little diving board thing is right at the edge there, so that you can see as your friends jump across, set up their jumps.
So Vince and I are watching these parkour videos. I think I watched a lot more videos than you did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
He'd come over to my desk and he's like, "Oh, you're watching parkour again?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm watching parkour." But I'm going to make this really cool thing. You'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see in 2 days. It'll be great. So I made this section so that players could literally make these long jumps, stick the landings, take a couple steps, jump again, stick the next landing, or if you have line rampant,
Yeah.
maybe you don't have to make
You can
the first
skip a
jump.
couple.
Yeah. But this is really so players in their fire team can show off to each other. That's what this is all about, highlighting your jumping skills.
Yeah, and I think this section has some more examples of adding that extra tension. The taking geysers that shoot you off the edge, the snipers that got added, those came in later. So we had these jumps that we knew felt really good, and then we wanted to add that extra bit of, okay, well, how do we actually turn this up? Because you can get good at this part very quickly. Within the first couple of attempts.
We could go
so
ahead
then
and
adding
play.
that element of timing on the end.
Cool. Yeah, we can go ahead and hit play. And another cool thing too, like this part in particular for me personally, I had to play with my jump settings.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, we'll watch this happen again.
Wait, that
I'm
was you,
sorry.
right?
But yeah, it actually made me decide, like, maybe I need a little bit more verticality. Maybe I need to hold in the air to let that little geyser go. So
this is a great example. That's that diving board. You get to see your friend jump across, either miss or land their jumps, like that guy missed.
So music was a big part in building this. I'll just talk about this for a second. So I said earlier I was watching Stranger Things, and that intro song for Stranger Things really got me hooked and got me thinking about how to build an environment that felt like that, had that kind of 80s retro digital vibe. And so I only listened to a synthwave soundtrack. I had like 30 songs on Spotify. They're all like really heavy, dark synthwave songs. And I didn't listen to anything else.
Go ahead and pause here.
Yeah. But by listening to that one type of music, I think it really helps make a place feel like it has a single theme. And so when I look back on it now, I think it was kind of helpful to have that one music style to carry that theme all the way through the jump puzzle.
yeah.
So those jumps leading into this section and that short hallway is another really good example of compression and expansion in the player's space. And then this room is another one of those. We've got that diving board off the edge. We have this strange set of spheres with all these little drains. And we built that on purpose with these chutes that sort of throw the player out in the bottom, so you can watch your friend make mistakes as they pick the wrong
So
one.
you can pick your one friend to try them all, and then you find the right one.
Exactly.
Right?
You go,
look
actually,
like
it's
the
this one
smart
over
guy.
here. Yeah.
Yep.
But again, the whole idea of this room is so that you can bring your friends in and show them which hole is the right hole, right? Like, oh, okay, let's have a space where there's multiple wrong choices, but there's one correct choice, so players can show their friends which one's the correct choice. That's the entire idea for this room.
Go ahead and hit play.
So me, being the guinea pig, I would try that one, try the one down there. That was wrong, fell down to my death. Sorry, guys. Up there. And then Vince walks up and he's like, why didn't you try this one yet, Dylan? Why did that take you 5 minutes?
Yeah, why didn't you try that one?
I always try first in the row. Go ahead and pause it. So this is
This room.
the
can
room.
cut to the slide.
Go ahead, hit over to
green
the
room.
PowerPoint slide, please.
So we had two versions of this room, the green room. The first version was a lot smaller than this. It was about a quarter, maybe a fifth of this size. And I built it as a test because there was a whole psychology to this room. It was really about, can we make a space that has a lot of multiple choices? It only has one way out, and it's going to create this situation where people have to keep trying and trying over and over again and failing. And so underneath the room has the failure area that only has two paths out that lead, of course, right back up into the room. So once you've entered this room, you just keep cycling back through it until you finally find the way out. And the thing that we wanted to go for here was, let's make another space that experienced players can bring their friends into and just show them the path out. And so I built a really small version of it so that we could quickly play test it. It took like a day.
Yeah.
We had that first play test. It took them, how long, like a half hour?
Yeah, it didn't actually take that long, but I really love the idea. And I remember you saying, I feel like this is too easy. I got some crazy ideas. I'll show you later. And then this happened.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my, this is amazing.
I told Vince, I said, just give me a few days. I'll have something. So I spent about, I think, 4 or 5 days modeling the green room. And back to music for a second. The only music I listened to for the green room was the first 4 albums of Black Sabbath.
Yep.
And it just gave it that vibe. You know, it's like it has a single vibe. It doesn't have different things going on. It has like one feel to the whole thing. And I think the music really helps do that. And everybody knows about the shortcut now. But the shortcut was put in so that once people knew the actual path, they didn't have to spend all that time again getting through this room. They could just immediately dive down. Like once the secret was out, you could bring your friends in and then you could say, hey, I know a shortcut. Again, going back to that help your friends mentality.
That was a really fun playtest too, because I remember we had like 6, 7 people and all on their own stations trying to see who could find the path first. We were all trying different cracks, trying to see, okay, how about this one, this one, this one? What if we go down into the darkness? What if we mess around with the thrall that you put down there that just pestered me every time? But I remember turning around and being like, wait a minute. Why is it dark underneath the door, Vince? You've had me in this playtest for how long?
Yeah, I want to talk about the green stuff in there. So the moss actually came in a little bit later because we had this whole space, and the jumping puzzle was really hard to identify in this room. So as you're in this shot where you're looking at the big V, the green stuff came in because you can just sort of hop up and you see all the ledges. They sort of pop out at you because they have that green lichen and that moss that you put in on it. So that's why it's the green room now.
That's why it's the green room. And just back to Naughty Dog, like if you played Uncharted, we always put those little, almost like lighter chalk-colored handholds. Anytime you have a cliff, you'll see a little bright area where Nathan Drake is supposed to like grab on. And that's just kind of a video game trick. And so the grass was there to show players like these are the landings that you can make. And if there's no grass, then it's probably not a landing that you can make. The music, again, you know, it was all Black Sabbath. And then I gave our audio team an email that just had a bunch of pictures of 80s stuff. It was like an 80s collage.
Yeah.
It had
Porsche.
Like, it had that Porsche. It had like an Atari system. It had like one of those Nagel paintings. It had like a Miami Vice boat. You know, all the things from the 80s. And I said, what do you guys think you can do with this room? But I didn't say anything about Black Sabbath. And they went off and they came up with that special custom track for the green room. And it was totally not what we expected, but we loved it. We're just like, oh my God, this works perfectly.
So we can probably switch back over to the video at this point and watch players go through the rest of this. There's a couple more jumps, and then I'll talk about combat a lot.
That hidey hole. Every time. And this little jump you put in too right here, because I think, oh, I'm scot-free. I'll make it pretty easy.
No, just when you think you're safe.
Just when you think you're safe.
Yep.
You want to pause on this room too? Talk a bit?
Sure.
Yeah, we can talk about the... do you want to say what was here before?
Yeah, so I know a lot of you have seen what's off in the distance there. Making that connection as a nostalgic callback was really important to us. Where is this place? What have the Vex been doing in the, these disused lava tubes, these dormant lava tubes in the core of Io, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're going for here. And we sort of put that Vex gate at the back just to lead to more mystery, more questions.
And nostalgia, like one of the most important things for us in building these is tapping into that feeling of nostalgia. Players that have been around. I mean, these things are a salute to our most experienced players, the players that have been with us the longest. And so the more we can tap into that feeling of nostalgia, the better.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about this ledge as we go across?
So you see how this thing curves off into the distance and it gets smaller. I took my daughter to this place called EMP. It's like a music museum in Seattle. And there's this big line of windows that curves around and you can walk along this ledge. And my daughter's walking along this ledge that's about 1.5 feet wide. And I thought, man, what if that ledge just got smaller? Like the longer she walked along it, like that would be super creepy, right? So I think the next morning I went into work and I put this ledge in and I just made it smaller and smaller.
Yeah. And if you hit play, go ahead.
So here you can just see it getting smaller. Now the actual physics under the player, invisibly, is bigger than the ledge. So you feel like you're going to fall, but you won't. You can walk out farther than you normally would.
The player jumped over that crack, but they don't need to. There's actually physics there. You can run along that crack.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we call the leap of faith. And I thought, okay, jumping in our game feels so good. It's really, really fun to jump like massive long distances. And it's also really cool to show how precise, as a player, you can make it through a tiny opening. Like that just feels really good in our game. So I thought, let's just make a moment where players can show each other that they can do that, where they can just make this massive jump, aim their character down towards this little tiny spot, and then just thread the needle right through.
It's way more scary than difficult at this point, just because of the lighting, because of the distance.
Yep.
Yeah, and as a guide too, it's like you make the jump, you turn around, it's like, yeah, you can make this. Like, come on,
Yep.
it's okay.
So let's go ahead and play. And then I thought, oh, you know what would be even better than having them go through this little needle? Let's have a hole right on the other side.
And have the ceiling slap you into the hole as you try to get through the last jump.
Oh my God.
Looks like Wintermoon just fell again.
I gotta just say something. Let's just pause it here really quick. So one of the key ingredients that Vince and I found pretty early on is laughter.
Yeah, keeping it fun.
Yeah, like when we're coming up with these ideas, we're whiteboarding, we're going to play tests, and we're experimenting. If we're not giggling like a couple of mischievous 10-year-olds, then something's wrong. Like it doesn't feel right. And so we keep iterating and we keep thinking like, how can we make this more, I kind of want to say like sadistic, you know, but like in a good way.
I definitely remember like playtests where something would change and I'd turn around and be like, it was already hard. You added a hole here? Really?
Exactly.
But that's it. Like if we're doing this, like
Yeah, it's the best.
that's kind of the thing, right? And if it doesn't feel like that, then it's probably not right.
Because experienced players get to do that to their friends. They get to say, hey, go ahead and
Yep.
make this jump. Got him.
Like that first mission in Taken King where you have the person jump over and there's the Taken Phalanx waiting for him.
Yep, Leonidas kicks him right out of the rocket.
Yep.
I love all those montages. All right, I think we can go ahead and play.
Yep, let's go ahead and play.
Yes, there's a lot to talk about with combat here. A lot of this was, again, paying homage to the original Spindle mission. So these blights and these geysers are here very purposefully. And the way these encounters are set up is to really have some strong pushing through the space as a player. So these blights actually went in a little bit later. And the way I placed them was to make sure that there's a line of sight that both the player can use and the combatants can use. So that first blight is actually really good to cover yourself from the snipers in the back. And this blight is actually better for the goblins and the vandals inside of it. So choosing which ones you take out is a really important thing, and that was done very purposefully. The geysers, I know that especially Mercules had a good time with. He told me that they were a little frustrating at times.
Is he here?
But the reason they're in there is because I really wanted to encourage players to push out into the space, use all the tools in your kit. That's why there's no penalty for dying. It's 5 seconds, come back in, use a shotgun, punch something. It's totally okay. Take risks. That was one of my biggest frustrations with the original Spindle mission, was it felt like if you didn't camp on that corner and be perfect with all your shots, you had this really frustrating sense of, I really got to get through this, and this timer's ticking down, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to get through that. So eliminating that and just worrying about the timer and pushing through it with every tool in your toolbox was very important. The shields here were also purposeful. I wanted to change them up through each combat space. So you'll see that these guys are solar. That carries on into the next X hallway right after this. It carries on into the room beyond that with the knights, but then it changes to void shields. So as these guys continue to clear, I'll talk about the space a little more. While Rob and I were working on Traversal, I was working with Alex May on these combat spaces.
Show the picture of Alex.
So Alex, we started with the original strike as well, the Shadow Thief. And we used a lot of those spaces, just straight copied them, lifted them out of D1 as our blueprint for where we wanted to start. So that first room is that very first room in the catch. There's sort of a closet on the left the guy comes out of, there's a knight and all that. This is the little hallway with the door where the captains jump at you from the sides and the vandals stab you. And then this room down here is actually that garage with the spider tank on the ceiling that drops down. So that's where we started with all of these spaces. This is another really good example. That blight in the middle there is really good cover from that knight up on the left. But yeah, this was actually the garage from the original Shadow Thief strike. So that's why we have these little tunnels on the side. Yeah.
But one of the changes you added the geyser in the back, so you couldn't just sit in the door, right?
Yeah, Dylan really enjoyed
Exactly.
that geyser. He was frustrated by it the first time it hit him. And then the second time he goes, you know what? I have an idea. He used that geyser and then pot slam and just smashed that first group and completely took out the blight. He's like, that was fun. I like that. Right? Keep it.
Change over to a Dawn Blade, launch you to the back of the room, just rain fire on everything.
And these guys have an easier time because they're using, LMGs to clear through things.
So this was, all of the art that you see here was built by one of our senior world artists named Alex May. We have a picture of him if we can show it. He did an amazing job. He's not here today, unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But he used the Pyramidion as one of the main inspirations, and then he also drew some inspiration from some of those jump puzzle areas for building this. And this was all done relatively quickly.
These shields here, by the way, were really important. Sometimes in Destiny, when you're facing challenging content, you can sort of run past things, and that becomes an optimal strategy. We play the game a lot, and we really wanted to say, no, you've got to clear this whole room. You have to make sure that you're thorough with it. So putting those shields to really stop players at those checkpoints was, I felt it was really important for that part of the challenge. And then this is that one last moment where you control your friends and say, hey, yeah, go on through. And then they get slapped into the room by these two phalanxes that walk up behind them.
So I wanted Alex to be able to really experiment in here. While I was working on the jump puzzle, I was the official art lead on the project, but I didn't want to mess with him. I wanted him to be able to just go and experiment and come up with his own ideas. And I barely talked to him. I mean, I saw him at playtests, and I think I gave him a little bit of feedback about lighting, but he was able to just completely take the ball and run with it for these spaces, and I think it turned out better, actually.
Yeah, Alex is great. This drop down in here actually was 90 degrees angled in the opposite direction, so it was aligned with the rest of the mission. We ran into some issues with how the geometry was pushing out into the space in the world, and we were worried it was going to poke into the skybox and cause some problems, so we took this entire boss room and turned it 90 degrees left. So that's why you get that drop down and then you turn to the left. So this is another example of using these geysers to push players out into the space. The optimal strategy for a lot of players will be to hide behind these pillars and just slowly pick away at the room. So these kind of give you that moment to use those pillars as cover, and then the geyser will go off and just push you out into the room, ruin your plan, right? So here's more of those shields. So this Centurion's in this room with the arc shields. And yeah, the tunnels on the sides, you have to clear some of the blights before you can use those tunnels. But once you do that and you pick which blights to clear out of the boss space, it makes the fight much more easy to handle. You can also see the bosses in the back of the room. They're in their little taken cocoons. And pulling these bosses into their lair and fighting them there was another real player experience fantasy that I kind of wanted. Like, you're going into this pocket dimension, and you find these guys that were, iconic from D1. You have Urzok, you have Drevis, the House of Wolves Baron that was in Forgotten Shore, I think it was. And then you've got, of course, Valstar.
Wait, I'm sorry. Whether we wanted it or not?
Yeah, we've stepped into war with the Cabal on Mars.
There we go, buddy. So in terms of playtesting this, like as you're building this space, how frequently do you move around the blights, the combatants? Like, do you just make a change and then you actually jump in, or?
Yeah, constantly. Sometimes it would be placed weird, so I have to raise some, lower some, move them a little to the right, move them to the left, move around the encounter, give the guys, the enemies a good spot to stand. All of that's very, very purposeful. It takes a lot of time to make sure it feels good, to make sure that, it doesn't feel like the combatants are being cheap or too cheap. They're doing the right things to really just challenge you and push you out of your comfort zone. Think about your loadout, change your subclass. Those were really important things for this experience.
We had regular playtests about once a week for combat and traversal, but Vince had people at his desk like every single day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Highly skilled players from within the studio come by and just try combat changes. So this whole combat section was getting iterated on every single day, multiple times a day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Had a lot of polish.
We also had a lot of help from some people who came to give us some critical feedback. Mercules, Holtzman, Spot, they were instrumental in helping us really dial this in and figure out what the best experience is. Is this too hard? Is this not hard enough? They were great. They all have very different play styles, very different things that they enjoy in Destiny, and getting that depth of feedback is really, really important to making this just work well for everybody.
And the other thing is, like, we don't really know how this is going to be received. Back when this was getting made, we just didn't know. You know, like, we didn't know if players were going to think it was too hard. We didn't know if players were just going to say, what the hell is this? Like, what the reaction was going to be like. So it really helped having that 3-person fire team of really highly skilled players come in and play this and just iterate on it with us over and over again. And we would ask them all kinds of questions, like, how is this going to feel?
And even with like their high school, they had a bunch of different things that they specialized in, where Mercules did a lot of like weapon reviews. He would look at the damage numbers, and Spot, she just played raids constantly, like taking people through. So she could go through this and say, you know, this is really difficult, but hey, I could take a fire team through this. Or hey, I need 2 people, and then we can take 1 person through it. And it was really good to get that critical feedback from Spot.
Like Mercules really understands weapons, so it was great to have him in there trying out the weapon, you know, understanding and explaining to us how the weapon felt and what it was like. And then Spot, she goes by Rhythona on PlayStation 4. She is such a great Sherpa. I mean, she's taken people through hundreds of raids. And so she really understood, you know, how this was going to feel to guide people through, you know, like, what should we do to make this more guidable, make it better for Sherpas to, like, bring people through the experience.
Or even the idea of, could you solo carry? That was a very important thing, and having her say, yes, you can. You know, I feel like I could do this. I could bring someone through here. That was really important.
And then we had Patrick Casey, who goes by Holtzman. You know, he's really a champion for Destiny. You know, he's a really public player. And we wanted a lot of streamers to like this and stream it and show people how to get through, make videos about it. And so he was able to give us important feedback about, you know, things that we could do to make it more streamer friendly, make it more fun for guides, you know, people to make guides, how to get through this thing.
Cool, I think they're about to win here, and they did.
Our fire team has prevailed with a few seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
They did it.
Good stuff. So if we could cut over to the PowerPoint really quick, we wanted to talk about the team. We had a lot of questions on Twitter just in terms of, like, who is the other member on this fire team? We shared this photo to show people, like, here are some people that are very adamant about Whisper.
Yep.
How many folks does it take to make something like this?
So this is a really, so what you see here is a picture that we set this up on the roof of the building.
Yeah, we were on the roof of Bungie.
We're on the roof of Bungie.
Downtown.
Yeah, don't do this at home,
No,
kids. Yeah.
People are alarmed when you have a
Don't do this.
giant gun and you're on the roof and you're wearing, you know, bandanas over your face. Yeah, it's...
We had to get permission from the Bellevue Police Department days in advance just to be able to take this picture up on the roof. And so we did everything we thought we needed to do to be responsible. The person that you see on the right, that's Alex May. I think that's the only picture of Alex that exists.
Yeah.
Unless it's just a blur in the background walking through a shot.
So the person on the right is the one, he's the artist that did all of the combat area. And you're going to see a little bit more of his work coming up. That's Vince in the center, holding the gun. And then that's yours truly on the left. I got turned around. I got to look
bracing my shoulder.
Yes.
You know, making sure it's okay.
I was telling him it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Don't worry.
That gun is very sharp. It's not fun to hold, and it's incredibly heavy.
Don't ever pick it up without gloves.
Yeah, holding it there, it's actually stabbing me in the face in several places. But
we could have called it the face stabber.
Got to do it for art, right?
Quick shout out to New Guard and Arm Effects. They're actually over at our Bungie booth right now, and you can see the Whisper that's in this photo on display. So.
Oh, one more thing about this picture. So you're only seeing 3 of us. The core team that built Whisper was really small. You know, but for the 2 experiences, 0 Hour and Whisper, even though it was a handful of people, I want to give a big shout out to Bungie and everyone that worked on these, because there's actually a lot of folks from audio, VFX, Sandbox. We've got test, lighting, skies, tech art, UI, engineering, rewards, PR, marketing, localization, and of course our community team.
Takes a lot of people.
Yeah, we got to keep it secret. So we were told not to do our jobs, and that was totally fine with me. But
yeah, and seriously though, like big props to you and Chris. I mean, these guys were in the playtest labs with us every time, and they came to meetings. If we wanted to have a meeting at 9 in the morning, they were there. If we had a meeting at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, they were there.
Yeah, they were there.
I mean, because we had so many questions, like how is our community going to feel about this? How are they going to feel about that? And you guys were just so invaluable, a big part of making this work.
It really is a privilege for us to be working with the teams at Bungie too, because it's like, hey, we bring the voice of the community to the meeting room, and you guys were really adamant about like, what about this? What about this? Jump in this playtest. How did this feel? How did it feel compared to the original Black Hammer mission? That kind of stuff. So it was a great team effort. It was really cool. So moving along though, was there a point where you thought we should start making another one of these?
Yeah, almost immediately, actually. we were very excited, especially like we were talking about that day when people found it on Reddit and they started talking about it. And I don't remember the guy's name who was on Twitch who found it first, and he was running through it. His channel exploded. That was really incredible to watch. He's freaking out. He's like, "Oh my God, guys!" I think he had 8 viewers, and then he went up to like 600, and then a couple people.
6,000.
You and Cosmo were in his chat, and he knew immediately. He's like, "Oh my God, Bungie's here. This is a thing. This is real."
Well, that was a mistake on our part because we were supposed to be like, we aren't here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. But peace out. Enjoy the game.
So Vince and I sat down in a room and we're like, okay, we have to make another one of these, but we have to come up with a different feel. It can't feel like we're just copying the same formula. And we both looked at each other and we're like, this one needs to have something special. This needs to have something that's really different.
So not only did you bring a secret to life, but my greatest nightmare.
Thank you.
So we have a special little video just to introduce this. The Bungie Fire team, who will not be named, that is not sitting up here, is so afraid of this creature that I avoided it at all costs through the playthrough. But we haven't released this video yet. Hope you enjoy it. If it plays.
Oh, you just dropped down. Oh, boy.
Where do we drop down?
Is this a maze?
How do we get out of here?
I'll go this way, you go that way. Hi, Trev.
It's like a spider. He's behind you. It's coming for you guys. Run!
That's officially the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God. That is awesome. It's funny watching that video because one of the greatest moments, I'm serious about this, one of the greatest moments of my entire game career, which is long, unfortunately.
Very long.
Yes, I'm old. One of the best moments was sitting on the couch at home with my son. He's 12, and he's played Destiny for 4 or 5 years. He mains a hunter. He's laying on my lap. We got my phone up, and we're watching Trevor videos and people's reactions, and we're just laughing and cackling. We watched it for an hour. We're just crying, seeing these reactions. And it was just so satisfying to have my kid on my lap, watching this with me, just having this moment together. So thank you all for having those experiences with Trevor.
Thank you, guys.
Made it worth it.
That was a really fun launch day in the community pod too, because we were like, okay, how long will it take them to find it? We have a timer. Sometimes we have a bet, like 2 hours, 4 hours, 1 hour, 0 hours, because 0 hour. And we just start seeing every Twitch is people screaming and freaking out and running for their lives. It was perfect.
I've also heard people say some very harsh things about Trevor, and I just want to say that he's a good boy and he's doing his best.
He's doing his job.
Yeah.
Do you remember Vince? Okay, so Vince and I were so worried, and the whole team, the entire team was so petrified before this thing went live because in playtest, there was often something that was broken, and so Trevor was a networked object. He had a lot of tech to make him work, and for a long time he was broken. And so right before this thing went live, people would come up to me and they'd say, "Are you nervous?" And I'd be like, "Yes."
Absolutely.
Please don't let Trevor be broken.
Yeah, Trevor was actually one of the things that was very, very close to the cutting room floor. As we were getting through it, there were months where Trevor was either extremely boring and no one understood why you would even go to this spot, or it was very frustrating and you would just get killed by this invisible force. You had no idea where it came from. So yeah, it all just came together perfectly in one playtest, and we all just went, okay, this is great.
Okay,
it finally works. So yeah, that's a really scary moment when it goes through so long and we spent all this time and effort. It took a small army of people to make Trevor work.
Yep.
A lot of tech artists, a lot of network network engineers, software engineers. It was a lot.
Yep.
So at the top of the show, we were talking about like you worked on the original introduction of Mithrax.
Yeah.
What brought you to including him in the journey to starting 0 Hour?
So Rob and I had this idea about what the cryptarchy was doing, right, in the tower, and that it wasn't something that we really had gel well with the experience, so we had to sort of make some pivots. And I sort of threw the idea out there. I was like, well, what about Mithrax? This could be sort of a moment, you know. He comes in, he's your benefactor. He's got this knowledge of this attack on the tower that's going to happen, right? So he trusts the player to do it with this information because the player spared his life at one point on Titan. And yeah, it just fit really well with that. And building on that relationship was pretty cool.
Awesome. So we want to kick the video off?
Yeah, let's start the video. Go. And again, going back to nostalgia, right? Like people had this experience with Mithrax. He's this important character in Destiny lore, and we wanted to lean into that. We wanted to give people more experiences with Mithrax. Like, how does that relationship pay off? Well, most people didn't kill like nobody here killed Mithrax, right? Right? Nobody.
Yeah, no one kills Mithrax ever.
Nobody killed Mithrax. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Thank you.
So for players that didn't kill Mithrax, there's this payoff of like, oh, I spared this guy, and this is how it pays off.
So we can talk about the changes here with combat. So this just hits you with combat immediately. And when Rob and I were thinking about ideas, we were really into, again, more 80s stuff, 80s action films. And we wanted to change the themes and the vibe a little bit. And this is sort of just, you know, go in, these guys are in your home, scorched earth, take them out, right? And working with Fallen is much more tricky than Taken because these guys don't have as much elemental shield diversity. But luckily we had these Shanks from Scourge of the Past. So putting those in was, again, that doubling down on changing shields in each encounter space. So in that first one, we've got the Void shielded Shanks. In this second encounter here, we've got the Arc shielded Shanks. And then in the hangar after that, it's the Solar shielded Shanks. So that was a very specific choice just to make players think about the loadouts again.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
what-
Work together, right?
So what's been going on with the tower all this time? Well, the tower is off limits. It's structurally unsafe. The Vanguard have declared it like this combat zone, this, I guess, demilitarized zone, if you would. And so nobody's there. It's still abandoned. But you can still see a little bit of like scaffolding, like maybe some frames have been here doing repairs. And the
Right.
place is relatively abandoned. It's off limits. That's why you don't see anything here at the time. Except for you and the Fallen.
Yeah, the mixture of combat here was really fun too, because for a while we didn't see a lot of risk runners in PvE. And then all of a sudden, with some of these Shanks having the arc shields shooting you with arc, people are like, oh, I remember this gun. I'm gonna just go in here and wreck everything. Super fun time. And then we had Arbalest release in the spring event. So a lot of people that necessarily didn't have a good weapon to go against various shields, they could jump on this exotic and have a pretty good time.
Yeah, the timing of that worked out very well. The Arbalest is great for more inexperienced players or newer players to have their experienced friend bring them through, and they can just say, hey, you know, don't worry about some of the trickier mechanics in here. Just put your Arbalest on, you can take out those shielded Shanks, and it's a big help. Like, they can actually contribute. That was one of the lessons that we learned with Whisper, was that it was really difficult to sort of Sherpa your friends along, bring them with you. It's they can get lost, they can get left behind, and because of the timer, you really have to push forward. So giving those little extra moments, you'll see that expressed in the traversal sections as we get through the rest of this combat.
Yeah, we should point that out again once we get to the traversal area for sure. So the first half of 0 Hour is obviously a run back through of the tower, and that was, there were a few reasons we did that. One of them just being production realities. Like both of these were made with a pretty small budget, and we knew that if we were going to make the coolest experience we possibly could, but we wanted to make it the right length, that part of it would need to be built off of something that we'd already made.
Yeah.
And that would give us a boost in the overall production so that we could really focus our efforts in the new area. So of course we have players going backwards through the old tower. We knew that the old tower was an important place for players.
Absolutely.
But then of course they get to the end where they start at the beginning of D2, and there's the surprise entrance.
Yeah, that's that secret hidden in plain sight. I just want to talk about that spider tank back there. I love fighting spider tanks. I think they're super fun. That's one of the reasons why there's so many in here. Another reason is it's really fun to destroy them with Whisper the Worm. So with them in here, it was sort of, did you do Whisper? Do you have Whisper the Worm? Awesome. You're going to have that extra tool in your kit to really like show that, you know, to your fire
You
team.
have people like me throwing on a Nighthawk, and it is so embarrassing when you miss that one shot on the brain. So just
take that time.
give me a second. My hands are shaking. Got it. Okay. Oh, thank God. I didn't embarrass myself in front of Vince, my best friend.
Yeah, so this here is sort of a combat downbeat. You have fewer guys because you're about to go into this really stressful traversal. So this is just a shorter hallway. The combat's really easy through here. Just a couple of guys, you know, one sniper at the end of a long hallway, easily taken out by Arbalist. Get some black armory gear.
Just a little bit of chug. It's a test environment. Perfect throwing knife.
Excellent knife.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Everyone saw that, right?
So of course we come out and then we see where it all starts in
Pause
Destiny
it up
2.
really
We can
quick.
pause right here.
Thank you.
Now, of course, you can see that little tiny hole off in the distance, and that's the door that's behind you at the start of D2. And we thought, okay, let's have our players run back to where it all began, and then they discover the tiny opening right back, you know, to that whole idea with Whisper the Worm, where you can have this massive experience right on the other side of a pinhole opening.
Exactly.
The
Again,
contrast just feels
hidden in
really
plain
good.
sight. It's like if you only open the right door, turn over the right rock, you'll find this space just unfold before you.
It's even labeled with an M. That stands for more, right?
Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah, that's what it is.
Very smart.
Should we talk about Brandon?
Yeah, if we could swap over to the PowerPoint really quick. We started off the Whisper with a question on, like, how did you choose where you were going to host this secret mission? So why'd you take us to the tower?
Well, again, you know, the tower has all that nostalgia, right? Like, this is the D1 tower. This is where players spent all that time in D1. Of course, this is where we start in D2. And the artist that worked on this, Brandon Campbell, was really, really interested. He had this like obsession, I guess, with showing players more of the tower from angles that they'd never seen before. Right?
Yeah, that was something that Alex, Brandon, and I talked about for a while. I was really trying to figure out a way that we could see the exterior of the tower, do some of these things, and then we were really worried about scoping this project and when it would come out and when we would, you know, give it to players. We wanted to do it as quickly as possible, but also pick the right time. And having Brandon come over to help out with his knowledge of this tower, you know, palette set was really, really helpful. And yeah, it really just let us execute on those parts.
Isn't it his birthday today?
Yeah, it's Brandon's birthday today, guys.
Brandon, can you put your sword up in the air really quick?
Brandon's back there.
Yeah, he's in the booth hosting some of these matches. Could everybody say happy birthday, Brandon, really quick?
On 1, 2, 3, happy birthday, Brandon. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, Brandon. He ducked.
Yeah, he's hiding. Thank you very much. He begged us not to do that, but come on.
Thank
we
you,
have
guys.
to. All right.
If you guys want to say hi to him, he's got blonde hair and glasses.
Yes, he does. He's running
Don't let him hide
the
from
risk.
you. No, give him a high five. He worked really, really hard. He and Alex May both built this. And you know, one of the advantages of having Brandon specifically work on this section for 0 Hour was Brandon did a ton of the work on the D2 tower.
Yeah.
So we got the same artist that did the D2 tower to build this section of 0 Hour. It's a huge advantage.
Cool.
I think the next slide is the...
So back to the views. Do you have the? Can you go back to the one with the? Is that the one that's up? Yeah. So you guys see that red box?
There we go. Red box? Yeah, red box.
So players pop out into this area with the red box, and they're able to look up at what Brandon calls the hammerhead. Now that's that big part of the tower that looks like a hammerhead. There's no view of that anywhere in Destiny, and he was like, man, if I could just get players out there so they can look back up at this, it'd be super cool. So this whole area of the traversal puzzle is, you know, part of it is the experience of running through this stuff, but a big part of it was so that players could have views of the tower that they've never seen before.
Yeah, you get to see this place that you never could get to before, and it's super cool.
Go forward,
I think we've got a shot of it in the next slide. just that moment coming out underneath there, it was amazing.
So you come
Early
out of a
on-
tiny ventilation shaft, and then of course you're looking at that big
Exactly.
space.
That was more compression and expansion of player space.
That's good. Looking back up, and you can see the bottom of that hammerhead structure. This is something that players have never seen, and this was really important for Brandon to be able to show people new things that they've never seen of this space that they, remembered from.
And there were a lot
for
of
such long
spaces
time.
that looked pretty familiar just from like walking around the tower hangar, that kind of stuff. And then you ended up in these spaces that are just like, is this what the tower looks like? That's so cool.
Yeah. Now this is a good example of an abstract space. Now with Whisper, we leaned really heavily into the abstract, and the reason for that was so that we could make an unconventional experience, because an unconventional look will support an unconventional experience a lot better. And here we go with Brandon building this long vertical wall with just a couple of little tiny ledges. And if you notice in that picture, there's nothing in there that's human scale. There's no railings, there's no windows. You don't see any like human-sized buttons that you can push. And so there's no visual cues whatsoever about how big this space is. And it just makes it more abstract, more odd. And when you're trying to land these jumps, when you're trying to gauge how far things are, it just makes it more difficult and more challenging. I think it ultimately more awesome.
Yeah. And then even like on the side of the wall.
And
too.
again, you can talk about this part, like these.
Yeah,
little
for
things.
sure. I remembered something. I want to jump back to Whisper. One of the lessons that we took away was that wait for the public event on I/O, that infamous wait. I did tons of carries during that weekend. I felt that pain with you guys, and we talked about it a lot to figure out what we could do better this time around. And putting Mithrax in the farm was great because that gave players a place to hang out and form ad hoc groups and do LFG stuff without just hanging out in a public bubble trying to figure out what they're doing. They don't, there's not much interesting to do in Lost Oasis, but there's plenty to do when you're in the farm. And that's a place that experienced players at Endgame don't typically go to. So again, hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like when this first came out, you were saying like, IO, you're doing a public event. You aren't really spending much time in chat. But then going to the farm, you started seeing this becoming an LFG portal. People would be typing in general like, hey, does anybody want to do 0 hour with me?
Yeah.
They'd just be standing over by Mithrax, and they would form groups and then just naturally go through it.
Yeah, my friend Ted and I, we did several carries of just random people that we met in the farm. We'd see them in chat, they'd say, hey, LF1, LF1M, 0 hour, please help. And we would just hop in chat with them and invite them to the group and then run some carries. It was great.
Cool. So I was carrying, we have an employee at Bungie that I was carrying through Whisper one afternoon. We started at 9 in the morning and we gave up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And for 5 hours there were 6 attempts. And they couldn't make it through the jump puzzle. And I kept apologizing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made it so hard. I just felt so bad. And this player was actually decently skilled. I mean,
You keep looking at me, but
I know, I don't know why I
totally
keep
not
looking
me.
It's not Dylan. It's not Dylan.
But I felt so bad, and I kept thinking, my gosh, if we had just put a couple of buttons in this jump puzzle that could have extended ledges, it could have made it a little bit easier.
That
this
was
player
one of the worst parts of the Whisper jump puzzle is that if you've mastered it and your friends haven't mastered it, it's really difficult to get them through it. And so you go, okay, well, I'm sorry, but I got to leave you behind.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to run forward. And then they struggle with a jump or two over and over again, and then they just get a gun. So they don't really get the experience. They don't get to have that same moment of mastery before they earn it. So connecting those pieces with these switches, with like the boom that comes out in this section, we'll be able to watch that in the video when we switch back over. But yeah, that was very purposefully done to really just help those moments.
I definitely want to give a shout out to the Warlock that first did this using Blink only without any of those buttons pushed yet. That was insane.
That was
if you haven't seen
completely
it, go
insane.
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, nice job.
So we can cut back to the video now.
And those switches, I mean, they're really about keeping fire teams together. I mean, part of it is making it easy for your friends, but it's really to keep the group together. This was saying they can contribute to that last fight, right? Like one player isn't way back just getting the drop. Oh, I got Outbreak perfected, but I'm way back in the jump puzzle. It doesn't feel as good as when you're in the boss fight.
Not at all.
So here we go. We're in a huge space. And then guess what? You go through a tiny little opening, very deliberate, into the air shafts.
This is also more of that mystery. Why is this down here? Who built this?
Yep. Now we had a lot of feedback from Whisper. We would take players out to lunch. We play with a lot of you out in the public. And one thing that we kept hearing over and over and over again was, could you guys, for heroic, if you do another one, can the heroic path have multiple routes?
And can
Like,
it have a
that
little
would-
platform that just falls? So
And
you
it falls
control
out
your
from under
friends?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, just differences between normal and heroic were something that we were able to execute here. Whisper, unfortunately, didn't really feel different. The only differences in Whisper were the bonus chests, the Oracle puzzle, and an elemental burn that didn't actually manifest as any real danger. In 0 Hour, it's just different. It's got subtle changes. This notch, by the way, Brandon put that in specifically to guide players. You can run straight off that yellow edge, push your character into that notch, and slide all the way down, and then hit your double jumps and make it to that edge. So it's kind of that helper tell. Visual language and those cues are something that are super important for both environment art and design to make the experience feel better.
That jump was inspired, obviously, by the leap of faith from Whisper of the Worm. And
You can pause the video.
I want to talk about this room. I feel like with Whisper, we were scared that it would be too difficult. So we started with easy and then pushed it up to difficult. With this, we knew it was going to be difficult, and I feel like we started way harder with 0 Hour and brought it down. So this room, this yellow ledge that you see here, was actually animated at one point, and it was just super frustrating to try and land on it. So we knew that the best way to do that was to just make it static. And then this became kind of a downbeat. After all those really tricky parts that you're jumping through on the outside, you come in here and it's just some simple actions, another flowing moment like when you're doing parkour, right?
But you also had the false leads too, right? Because you had the some of the shafts that you could go into, they all had the same plates on them, and you would have to experiment which one was the right one.
Exactly.
So the first few run-throughs, you're like pressured by the clock, you're trying to get through it, and it's like, oh, okay, it's at the top, I'll do all that.
Yeah, those are those false tells again. That's expressing mastery. Which one's the right one? Oh, it's this vent over here on the right. It's the second one up top. So, yeah.
we kept using this analogy of the Rubik's Cube. Anybody who's held a Rubik's Cube and just sort of spun it in their hands? The solve for a Rubik's Cube is complicated, but the action of spinning it around is easy. So it's a thing that's difficult, but it's smooth to try. And so for all of our traversals, Whisper and 0 Hour, the goal was to make an experience that felt relatively smooth to run through once you learned how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? But the actual route was difficult, right? Like it's hard to find the way out, it's hard to find the path. It requires a lot of skill and memory, but the doing of it feels smooth the more you do it, right? And Brandon actually has a couple of Rubik's Cubes on his desk, and sometimes I'd pick it up and go, make it like the Rubik's Cube, come on.
Yeah, make it
like
smooth.
Just
Yeah.
make it smooth.
I think we can switch back over to the video at this point.
Yep, we can keep playing.
So this is one of the challenges that I really, really enjoyed. This is that smoothness. When you nail these notches and the fans, and you just get through it with one press of your double jump, and you can go through 2 or 3 fans, it feels really cool. I'm not going to pretend because it's certainly not.
Yeah.
This is a very challenging spot.
You usually get to the bottom and watch your friends just getting.
Yeah.
I still die at least once every time I go through this thing.
I want to say that the audio that we put onto those fans was amazing. Evan did a great job with that. Yeah, and when we made those, at first we had the physics on the fan was actually killing you, and it was really inconsistent. It made the experience bad. So that's one of those things that we sort of cheat on, and we give you this kill volume.
Yeah.
So it's not the fan itself that's killing you. If you touch the wrong spot, it'll actually take you out.
And the kill
So-
volume is actually smaller than the fan, so there's a little bit of play.
And there's a little notch cut into it at the safety zone, so it doesn't just nick your feet.
Yeah. So is this where they totally skip?
So yeah, we can talk about the design of the space a little bit too. So with Trevor, go ahead and pause here. So with Trevor up top,
Is there a spot where you see the overlook?
there was a lot of
Okay.
ventilation shafts, tight corridors that were in this whole space, and you would sort of come through these vents and then end up here, and you didn't know where you were as a player. You're coming into a maze, but you didn't know it was a maze because you never saw it from up top. So that was one of the first things that we changed through this process of making the Trevor section work, was adding that overlook, fleshing it out to look like a hangar, adding all these things, the console on the side with the shape of the maze where it says TR3VR, not connected to Wi-Fi, right? All of those things just really help tell that story. And go ahead and hit play. And as players drop in here, the left side, the outside of the maze, always has these cables running along the bottom, this red pipe. The inside has that notch cut into the wall. It's all these really subtle things that add up to just kind of help orient you. When this is in pure gray box, it's impossible to tell where you are. It's extremely confusing.
Also, at the end of the hallway, if you look down,
You'll see it right here. There's an exit sign that actually points to the exit. It's just a green arrow and a little guy going towards the exit.
And there
We've
you
got
see
this
it down
light
at the end,
of
right?
the hallway.
The important thing for us also was if you look down and you see green, that's the way out. If you look down and see orange, it's either a side route or you're going back. So we try to put as many of those cues in as possible.
These electrical trapdoors, this one actually doesn't spawn. That's on purpose. That's for the optimal route. That's how you get back through. This cut in the middle is also for the optimal route. This is how you can avoid Trevor. These guys run it perfectly.
Well, this person does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this person does. The other guys get killed a bunch. The electrical shield door was one of those moments that if you run this perfectly, you would never be forced to stop. You can actually get through really, really fast. But adding this moment here of, oh no, wait, I have to wait. This just really ratchets up the tension and makes Trevor feel terrifying because he could be anywhere at any minute.
We added the lightning, at one point because people could just get away from Trevor. So we thought, what would make this scarier? Like, what's worse than having, it's like that scene from a movie where someone's trying to get to the elevator and the elevator door opens and they run inside, they turn around and here comes the thing, right? It's coming for them and they're hitting the door close button like, oh my God, close the door. That's exactly what that electricity is. It's that it's coming behind me and I can't get forward. When's the electricity going to turn off? Right?
And the Duel of Fates from Star Wars, right? Those shield doors all sit down and they're just staring at each other, and you have that moment just really builds some tension.
The most fun slide in the game.
Slides are just super fun. They're just great.
If we could pause really quick, I did want to take a chance. We had a lot of questions on Twitter about this, but what was the inspiration for Trevor? And
do we want to hit the slide?
Yeah, if we could go over to the PowerPoint. This thing makes my skin crawl.
So yeah, we had a lot of questions about where did the idea for Trevor come from? Like, how did you guys think this thing up? And why is it scary? What was was there a formula for making Trevor scary? Trevor was born one afternoon. I rolled my chair over to Vince's desk. There was a point where we sat right next to each other. I rolled over and I said, hey, what if we had a box in a maze that would just run you down?
Like a wacky minecart, out of control, just careening around in a space. Yeah.
And I think I showed him a video. My favorite show ever of all time is Takeshi's Castle, MXC. And so I showed the thing where the ball comes down the hill, and people are trying to make it up the hill, and there's these little side routes where they can dive in, and then there's people dressed up like monsters, and then they get pushed back out, and then the ball takes them out. And then on the whiteboard, we started drawing and laughing, and it was with giggling, and we drew just this maze, and there was a little box, and then we're like, oh well, it's going to need a name.
And then I drew a bowl cut on it and a happy face, and then wrote DMG04 on the side. And Dylan got really upset with me.
I didn't get upset because you didn't tell me until today.
Yeah, exactly.
Look how mad he is now. You can tell he got upset. Why are you mad?
I ain't mad, bro.
So we had a bowl cut. And so this picture was just a box with a little bowl haircut drawn in green marker. And then if anybody remembers Mad TV, there was this character named Stuart.
Stuart.
So Stuart was this overgrown 5-year-old, I guess.
Yeah.
He was like a 30-year-old 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And he would always do weird stuff, like he'd put his butt up in the air. He'd
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I imagine, what if Stuart was this maniac that was after you? That would be terrifying, right? Because it's this childlike person that is deadly, right?
Exactly.
So I thought, okay, what if we give this robot a kid's name? And so there were two names. I was like, Stuart or Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor.
Because those are names that are always a kid's name. You almost never hear of an adult. Sometimes, I guess. But when I hear Trevor,
Shout
I
outs
think
to people named Trevor.
Sorry if your name's Trevor. It's almost always a child. So I thought, okay, it's paradoxical, right? Here's going to be this terrifying thing that can kill you, and I want a contrast, a paradoxical name that's the opposite of that. So that's where the name Trevor came from. But because we have to get everything localized, we had to turn it into an acronym because we didn't have time to do the localization. So that's when we came up with the acronym
TR3,
Trevor with
yeah.
the 3.
So what about the
Oh, so for the visual
robot shapes
design.
here, these concept images.
So the concept on the left side was done by Fan Gao, who's one of our super talented concept artists. We told him, like, what did we tell him? Like, draw.
Yeah,
a
we want
box
this
with-
this death Roomba, right? This sweeper bot that's just kind of moving around in this maze, keeping it clean, and that started with the left image, and then we got progressively more terrifying. So we're like, oh, this first one's not very scary. This next one, he's got these laser scrubbers on the sides. The more menacing face.
Yeah, he came back with the second image, and there was just something too vacuum cleanery about the design, and I thought, like, well, how do we make this more terrifying? And there's that movie Fargo where people's bodies are getting put into a wood chipper, and that was like gave me nightmares forever. And then there's a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the second one, Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Remember where the woman is like trying to operate? She's trying to like turn something, and then like there's a centipede goes up in her hair.
Yeah.
Oh my god, nightmares for the rest of my life. So like centipede legs, wood chipper, and so I
Crab
sat
mouth
down
parts.
and I quickly modeled out this version here, and then I thought, okay, he's got to have a single eye because that's terrifying. It's worse than something relatable with two eyes. His box shape is non-humanoid, right? Like it's not anthropomorphic at all, so it's harder to relate to. It makes it scarier. This thing is killing you. There's nothing human about it. And then of course you've got this combine, almost like getting run over by a tractor or one of these horrible machines.
Right.
Trevor's faster than you are. You can't outrun Trevor. You can't shoot Trevor.
You cannot escape.
You can't escape Trevor.
Never.
Guardians are never, like, you're almost never feeling fear in Destiny. Why? Because you can jump away from everything. I can jump like 100 feet in the air.
Yeah.
I can pop a super and just slam and just kill tons of things. I can shoot a rocket launcher. I can res myself. Even if I die, I can still come back to life. So I'm not accustomed to being afraid when I'm playing this game. But what if I'm put into a maze where the ceiling is just over my head? I can't jump.
It's only wide enough for one player to go through at a time.
It's just wider than a single player. I can't pass other people. I've got this thing in there that can go faster than me. I turn around, I can't shoot it, right? So we take away your powers, your movement, and then it's actually scary. This thing lights you up. When you're running away from it, you see your own shadow right before you die, running for dear life.
Yeah.
So I think through a lot of experimentation and just going to playtests and figuring out how to make it scarier and scarier and scarier, we came up with something that worked.
Exactly, yeah. We could switch back over to the video
let's
at this
head over
point.
to the video. I always feel so
All
claustrophobic.
right, so then
in
we're
these
dropped
things,
down
man.
into the vault.
So
So
here's the hidden door.
the reason we have gold in there in the vault instead of glimmer is because it feels really bad when you see a pile of glimmer and you can't go pick it up as a player. But we know, gold is a valuable resource in the universe, so having piles of that just leads to more questions. You can pause here real quick and we can talk about this space. So in here, we just sort of talked to Alex and said, like, go wild. Put things in here that will just lead to questions, Why is this here? Who built this? Why are these artifacts, stashed on these tables? And at the end of the room, you see the case cut open, and that's where Outbreak Perfected was sitting, and the Fallen have already taken off with it.
So it adds urgency. Like, you got to find this thing now before it gets out.
Exactly.
Go
And
ahead
the
and
reason
roll
why you
tape.
go through all the ductwork and jump off the back is because this is our home. We know where it is. We know the fastest path.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to do that, to have a player know that they know that it's the fastest path. So we just guide you, and that becomes the fastest path. But you're catching the Fallen before they leave the tower with Outbreak.
Yeah. Here, go ahead and play the video.
How are we doing for time?
So here's this hole cut in the floor that they sliced through. And then we get back out into the loading dock, and this is the boss fight. And the boss fight carries those themes of combat in the first couple sections, the different shield types. We've got the turrets here. These turrets are pretty interesting. They only show up in these two spots. They're a huge
wanna pause and
threat.
show the turret?
We actually had a version of these that were invisible, and they didn't make it. Those were not fun to fight. The servitors that drop in, I'd purposefully set those up to have enough shanks that spawn so that when you hit them with a tether and you have Orpheus rig, it gives you your tether back. So that's one of the things that help you get that solo strat.
And then you spawn
Thank
a
you.
bunch of orbs for your friends, so you could just be lobbing Nova bombs and stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah, these guys are pretty good. They've got this combat dialed in.
I'd say the turrets in particular were super interesting, like just the first time I played against them because they didn't have a crit spot. So it was just like, okay, I need to unload, I need to dump everything I got in these things to get rid of them right now.
We can actually, can we pause it here and switch back to the slide? We have an image of the turret to take a look at.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just one of the things that Alex built with some of the tech artists. And this took a bunch of people to make happen too. And these turned out really great. They're super challenging. Like I was saying, I couldn't find a good spot to put them in the rest of the encounter. It was too risky. It really just ratcheted the difficulty way up.
Alex just kit bashed this thing together in a few days. Like he took the fallen turrets from the first mission of Forsaken.
Yeah, and the Prison of Elders.
The Prison of Elders mission. So he took those and he just modified them. And the idea was to come up with a fallen version of the Cabal turret, basically, that we could place
Exactly,
around.
yeah.
Cool. It turned out really cool.
All right, we can head over the gameplay again.
We'll just let this play to the end.
They have a little under 7 minutes left. I hope they make it. I
hope
have
they
no
make
idea.
it
I've
too.
never seen this before, so.
Okay.
I did appreciate the shanks on each of the sides had different different
So that
shields,
was
right?
that was important, moving the boss around the space. So the reason why players drop into the middle, this was one of the lessons I had from building the boss arena in the Whisper. Having players come in from the back of the room, let them stay at the back of the room. So in this, we have you drop out of a ventilation shaft directly into the middle of the room, and then moving the combat around the player was a way that it didn't feel super bad to just be dropped in the middle of a melee and you get destroyed over and over again.
Do you want to talk about any strategies or?
Yeah, so these shanks on the sides will actually respawn as long as the boss stays there. The servitor in the front will actually spawn after you do some damage to the boss, so there's specific strategies to work through the room. Yeah, and I built it that way on purpose so that you could know these little things like, okay, clear out all of the combatants, then shoot the boss to make him move. That'll spawn in the servitor, then take the servitor out, then clear the shanks, then kill the boss, have him move to the back, then kill that servitor. Fighting these spider tanks, like I said before, it's just really fun, especially when you have really good snipers. You sit in the back of the room, you can just take that spider tank out. It's really satisfying.
Then you have to move up because you have all the little fodder hiding behind the boxes and stuff, right?
Exactly,
So-
yeah. If you clear that out and you claim that space, so these guys have claimed it. They've got this middle and the back section of the hangar because they took everything. They took all the combatants out, so now they've got this spot. Now they're just going to get rid of this thing.
I gotta say,
or
that
die,
sniper has
or get
killed me
taken
at
out.
least 200 times
Yeah.
of me just going back through heroic, all that kind of stuff.
Those guys will actually keep respawning while you're fighting the boss. So if you keep clearing them out, they'll keep coming back. The reason for that is because it feels kind of bad to just fight the boss by himself. He's pretty scary when he has friends, but he's pretty boring when he's just alone.
Do you want to talk about why you have to clear out all the enemies completely?
Yeah, scorched earth. You can't leave them here, man. This is your home. We were really into 80s action movies, and Commando was one of those movies. And we actually, we codenamed this Commando. That was one of the central themes that really just carried throughout development.
There was a question, Vignesh asked a question on, it was on Twitter or on,
Twitter, yeah.
You know, where does the concept for something like Whisper Mission begin? Any specific aesthetic y'all try to incorporate in while designing levels? For example, there was an undertone of dread and mystery for Whisper Mission, whereas for 0 Hour, it had a feeling of urgency to it. Well, so the mood for Whisper was, this is a secret, deadly, forbidden place, full of mysteries and great power. And the mood and feel for 0 Hour was, you're going in guns blazing and leaving nothing alive.
Yeah.
And that's why we codenamed it Commando, because it was literally like that 80s action flick where you go in and just kill everything. And that was why you had all the enemies must go, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And our fire team has prevailed.
They did it. And your boy Mithrax shows
Waving
up.
goodbye.
Couple friendly parting shots from his skiff.
And then a fire team celebrating. Nothing better than a perfect emote. So to shift, now that we've beaten both the activities, let's talk about the rewards just a little bit. Yeah, just on the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
How about that ship? We had a lot of people on Twitter asking about why the Junker.
The Junker. So yeah, so there's the ship. Some people love the ship, some people hate the ship. The ship was kind of polarizing. I like the ship. Does anybody here like the ship? Anyone? Yes. Oh, thank God. It's like, what, a quarter of the audience, maybe?
Middle. I have to throw a shader on that, man.
So the ship, these, like I said before, these are built on a pretty tight budget. We had about 4 days to get a ship made. And I was inspired by Star Wars Episode 4, where Luke Skywalker, he walks in and sees Han Solo's ship for the first time, and he goes, "What a piece of junk!"
Exactly.
And it's like, no, it's not a piece of junk. It's
not.
awesome. You just don't know it yet. So we thought, what if the Drifter had a ship that he kit bashed together, and he had just made out of parts that he had found salvaging or stealing off of other ships or whatever. And that's where this concept came from, of this Drifter kind of salvage ship that has these little kind of arms on it that are grabby, pokey things that might pick things off of other ships. So we went from that to the next slide. Now, the ship had to be made, because of time constraints, it had to be made from existing parts from our ship catalog for that season. And so up here you see this orange ship. All the parts had to come from that. So I took one of those and I just started grabbing pieces off it. And I kit bashed this next thing together, which kind of had that look similar to the concept. I handed this off to our 3D hard surface team. And in 4 days, they built this guy. On the next slide.
Go to the next one.
I just like giving you a little
There's a
moment
delay.
to think about things.
So they built the scrap. Now, as you can see, the scrap has the little grabby arms. Now this feels to me like the ultimate ship that Drifter would fly around in. Like, this has that scrappy look. Obviously, it's named Scrap. But my favorite part about this is it's one of the only ships, if not the only ship in Destiny, that has a headlight on it. And that was Mike Poe.
I like the barrels on the roof, personally. Those are my favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I'm using this ship, I'm flying up to other derelict ships, and I can actually see the thing out the window of, oh, I'm going to scrap that, I'm going to grab that.
Yeah.
All the other ships, you don't have headlights. You can't see anything in space. Come on.
It's also just a bit of a flex or some swag. You're like, hey, I got the heroic ship. You have to do a lot to get this. You have to prove you mastered the activity.
You remember the Airbus in Destiny 1, the first Iron Banner ship?
Oh, absolutely.
That looked just like a crazy school bus. Everybody's like,
Oh, yeah.
what?
Yeah, what?
I would use that constantly.
Yes, this is my ship.
It has a kind of an understated beauty.
So we had a couple questions earlier about selecting weapons. What was the thought process on selecting Outbreak?
Well, this is a tough question. The answer is going to be a little long, but for Vince and I and for the rest of the team, really everybody that gets involved in these things, it's really about, we want to create as much community excitement as we possibly can. And the weapon is a huge factor in how excited people get about this stuff. And the experience, as I said earlier, they're a tribute to our best players, especially the ones that have been with us since Destiny 1. They've been with us for a really long time, and having the nostalgia be so important, D1 weapons are especially attractive. They're especially valuable for hitting that note. And so for Whisper and Outbreak, we sat down with our sandbox team, and we asked, there were 3 important questions. The first question was, out of the D1 celebrity weapons, which ones have we not brought back already? And out of that list, which weapons aren't already earmarked for future content? They're not, which weapons are still up for grabs? And then of those remaining guns, which ones would be meta-significant and exciting for Destiny when this actually comes out? Which ones are people still going to care about? Which ones are going to matter? And that, you'd be surprised, but that list actually gets really small. And so the available options may only be 4 or 5 guns out of all the weapons that are possible. So the pool of weapons is shrinking. And that said, I don't know if we would be against building something brand new if we were to do another one.
No, there's plenty of options.
Yeah. But a lot of thought goes into it, and we have to work really carefully with our sandbox team because there's so many concerns about is this weapon going to destabilize the sandbox? Is it going to be too OP in some way? You know, so
But
for
it also does need to be strong. It needs to be something that our best
Yeah,
players want to go
exactly.
after, that everybody wants to get. So yeah.
And with Whisper, we really leaned into raw DPS. But with Outbreak, we tried to lean into a different vector. We're like, hey, you know, and this was Victor Anderson, the sandbox designer that worked on Outbreak. He did an amazing job of making the gun feel really fun without making it just be a slot-dominating weapon just with
exactly.
raw DPS. Right.
We had another question from Twitter. It related to, like, with Whisper, you were looking back at the Shadow Thief strike. With 0 Hour, what inspirations did you take from the quest in D1, and like, what was the thought process on that for you introducing players to the quest?
Are you talking about the intro quest or like the
intro
the combat
quest, like,
stuff?
I mean the encounter all up.
So yeah, I guess I'll just talk about the intro quest. A lot of that was telling that story of like Mithrax leading you to this safe space in the farm where he was hanging out so that he could take you on that journey. A big important part was if players hadn't even met Mithrax, like they had to go do his quest first. And it doesn't matter if you kill him, but we all know that everybody saves Mithrax.
Of
so.
course, yeah.
What was the second part of your question?
Well, we had like with Whisper, you were paying homage to like the Black Hammer strike.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
with
yeah.
0 Hour, what parts of the mission were you looking back and saying, oh, this would be cool to kind of call back to there?
It was a lot more freeform with that. We just built a bunch of stuff from scratch. There was a lot more iteration. So we found a lot of things that didn't work. We had a lot of interior spaces that were confined, lots of ductwork, and that's, you know, when Brandon came in, he helped us build the outside portions. It really just fleshed it out. But yeah, it's just this iterative process. You keep building on it, you keep building on it, you change little parts, you know, remix it, you restructure it.
Cool.
So yeah, this was just kind of its own thing.
Awesome. So next up, we had some of the exploration of the different versions of Outbreak.
Yeah, so the original plan was to have the weapon reward be what you see here, which is the white gun. At one point, we had a meeting with Dylan and Chris in a conference room and our systems art director. And I mean, thank God, like they said, hey, you know, it might not feel good if you guys sell a weapon skin that is the same as a D1 weapon. So the original plan was to have one of the skins be an exact copy of Outbreak Prime. And so right then, we just changed course and we said, no, let's give them the new version of Outbreak Prime, the red version, and then let's have these two other designs be the skins. Because, you know, that's what our community team helps us do. Like, they really talk to you guys, and you guys are vocal, and they understand, you know, for the most part.
Sometimes.
How you sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. Anyway, we dodged a bullet with this one because I think you guys wouldn't have reacted as favorably if we tried to sell you an almost exact replica of a D1 weapon. And we can just skip past these really quick and maybe get to the naming thing.
Yeah. So, and then we had this one for the
Yep,
Warmind
and this
skin.
was the other option. This was Warmind inspired.
So a couple quick questions that we had from players just to get through these. Let's see here. How difficult was it to fine-tune these experiences to fit within a 20-minute timer?
So that's something that I sort of keyed in on pretty early on. I'm basically saying that you're going to be frustrated for a little while you learn this, and 20 minutes is actually a really good spot to feel frustrated but not too upset. If it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's too much. Imagine getting to a 39-minute attempt and then you fail. It feels really bad to hop in there again. But if you can fail at 14, 15 minutes and you're like, oh, I made some progress, that feels a lot better. So knowing that that's the right amount of time, then building it, and you just play through it. You keep going over and over again and figuring out if the time works and just really tuning that. During 0 Hour, we started for a while with a 30-minute timer. And thankfully, we have, you know, very skilled players that we get a lot of feedback from. Say, hey, is 20 minutes good? And they go, absolutely. Make it 20, it'll be fine. So that's how we got there.
Next question we got.
We should tell people there's something coming up at the...
Oh, there is something really fun coming up, but we're going to
I
do
don't know
that.
if
There's
they
something fun coming up?
We still have a little bit
Okay,
of time.
all right.
So let's see here. Why did you decide to keep Whisper extremely secret and 0 Hour not so much?
That's an interesting question.
Well, so for Whisper, the thing that we were really trying to do was demonstrate to our community that we could put secrets in the game. And it had to be kept super duper duper extra secret. And so we put a ton of effort into that. And then once the secret was out, we thought about that and we're like, hey,
Yeah, it's like the secret everyone knows
the
about,
secret's
right?
out now. I wish there was a way to get more people to know about this. For 0 Hour, we knew that the biggest thing was the surprise. It wasn't so much the secret, it was surprising our community.
Yeah.
Right? And once the surprise wears off, it only takes about 48 hours for that surprise to wear off. Then you can just show people the thing. And for us, it's really about people playing the content. You know, like we want to surprise our players, but then we want as many people to play the content as possible. So
Right.
that's why you had the trailer. That's why we had us talking about it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, final question. Let's see here. Actually, we're at a good point to ask. Let's talk about Trevor.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about Trevor's kind of an innocent name, but this thing is terrifying. How did you go about naming this terrifying little guy?
Well, that's interesting. So, like I said, we had to come up with an acronym because we couldn't actually name him Trevor because
Yeah.
that would have to be, we'd have to do localization on it. So the way that we kind of got around it was coming up with the acronym, using the letter 3 and putting a dash. But then we all sat around and said, well, what does that stand for? What does Trevor stand for? That was a huge question. So we wrote down a list of options. Mallory Schlief, our writer,
Yep.
did a great job of coming up with a bunch of options. I think one of them might be mine.
One of them is yours.
One of them is mine.
We aren't going to say, though, because that'll sway the vote.
Should I tell them what's going to happen?
Oh, you're going to tell him right now.
So we thought we'd do something fun with you. So because you guys are here, and because you're so dedicated, and we love you so much, we never actually picked Trevor's official name. We have a list of options, and what we're going to do is we're going to read them off, and whichever one gets the most applause right here, right now, is going to become Trevor's actual name.
So, GuardianCon 2019, I'm going to give you a list of names. You're going to read them. I'm going to let you decide in your minds first, and then I'm going to read them off, and we're going to base this off of applause. So be as loud as you can for the voice or for the name that you believe should be sticking to this little robot. Are you ready?
So you just read them first.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. There you are.
Take your time. Let them soak in. And really think.
You're hoping so
No, I
much
know,
that
I
they
know,
choose your name. I didn't write one, so I don't got skin in this game.
As you're reading these, just remember.
We should read them off. We
This
got
is
some
it.
people standing up, so
Okay.
let's just
Well, they're
read through
trying
all
to read
of
it.
them. Yeah.
Did you want to read? Did you want to read?
I think Dylan should read all of them slowly,
Slowly.
and then are we gonna read them again afterwards?
I'll just read them once.
Okay.
It's fine.
You guys go ahead. This is it.
All right.
Applause for the one that you like the most.
So, first name.
They can't see
What?
the bottom one.
Oh, you can't see the bottom
No,
one
it's
at all?
completely blocked.
Bottom two. Well,
Bottom
okay,
two,
we're just
okay.
going to read this then.
We're gonna read them.
Let's go. Okay. Test Robot 3, Vigilant Roamer.
So let's go through all of them so that
Oh,
people
you
can
wanted
think
me to
about
read
it.
all of
Yeah,
them?
because they can't.
And
They
read
can't
them
see
really
mine.
slowly.
So, first one, Test Robot 3, Vigilant Roamer. Second one, Tower Recon Trivalent Resistor. Number 3, Trajectory Response Tri-Velocity Robot. Number 4, Thresher Remote 3 Ventilation Route. Number 5, Tracking Robotic 3 Vectored Reducer. And our final choice, Tame Relaxed Triple Vac Roommate.
All right.
Well,
You want to read them off again, and then we're gonna get applause.
here we go.
All
So,
right.
number 1, Test Robot 3 Vigilant Roamer.
A couple people.
Okay, yeah. Tower Recon Trivalent Resistor.
Nobody.
Trajectory Response Tri-Velocity Robot.
Couple more people.
couple.
Okay, a couple over here. Yeah.
Thresher Remote 3 Ventilation Route. There we go.
All right.
That one's not yours. Don't you try to take.
No, it's
yeah. Tracking Robotic 3 Vectored Reducer.
Couple.
You feel okay about that?
As
That one
long
is-
as mine is not the least favorite. I'm okay.
And our final one. Tame Relaxed Triple Vac Roommate. Thank you, Mallory, if you're watching this. These were amazing. So,
All right, it's official.
Trevor is
official.
tame, relaxed, triple vac roommate.
There we go. We also we have one more little surprise for a couple people in the crowd. If you want to tell the story about the shirts.
Oh yeah, so we made shirts. We have a tradition at Bungie where when a content like this comes out, we like to get into a room. We have a giant screen. We bring in some snacks, and most of the people that worked on the experience will all sit there and we'll watch people play through live, and it's just a great time. And it's one of the most satisfying and rewarding things that we get to do in our jobs is like just watch people play through the content. And of course, we're glued to Reddit the whole time. So I made shirts for that experience, and I have a couple of extras.
Yeah.
Now
Just a
these,
couple.
yeah,
You guys might see me wearing it around the booth. We'll see.
yeah, you'll see us wearing these. These are developer shirts that we only handed out to Bungie employees for watching that first go live day.
Thank you, Scott.
Now,
Thank you.
how do they know if they get one of these shirts?
So, this is a shirt. Some of you are sitting really far away, so you probably can't see it very well. In any case, 5 chairs around here. You'll have a green piece of tape on the right side of the back of it. Look for the green tape. If you find the green tape, stand up. We
Nice.
got one.
We got a winner there.
Got one over
We
here.
got 2.
Got one
we got
over
3.
here.
We got 4.
4.
5, I
Where's
think,
number
maybe.
5?
If you have the green, come on over to the staircase over here, please.
We got 5.
I believe so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You have different sizes on this?
All right, let's give these guys a round of applause. Nice job.
You have a world first raid jacket? No, not world first, but you beat in the first week, right? Round of applause for this guy. There you go, buddy.
Thank you.
You can exchange the size later. Come see me and I'll give you the
Yeah,
right
just
size.
come down to the Bungie booth.
Yep.
Just go back out that way.
There you go. Thank you.
Nice job.
I gotcha.
This is the most fun thing to do on stage. Like, here's a T-shirt.
Yeah, handing out
Oh
t-shirts.
God, this is so weird. I'm so sorry. Oh, I took that. No, I took that.
My turn.
Thanks. Yeah, of course.
There you
All right,
go,
watch
buddy.
out, this side, watch
Thanks
out,
so
this
much, man. Good to meet you.
Yeah, let's awkward handshake. Let's go.
Nice.
And our final.
All right, it goes Vince.
There you
me,
are.
and then you.
Get it. Let's all.
I
This is
gotta
like
do
the
it every
hardest thing.
time.
3
It's
people
so
shaking
good.
hands.
Thanks, man.
Nice.
So, thank you everybody for coming.
Thanks,
That's
guys.
a wrap up for the
Thank
Bungie
you.
Ride Along.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah, man. I want to give a quick shout out. Everybody that's here, all the volunteers that are working GuardianCon, everybody at Rare Drop that put this together. This is amazing, and it's been awesome to be a part of it. Making what? It was $400,000 during our 4-hour block. Lupo beat us
Thank
out of the
you,
water. It was
guys.
insane. Good job, Lupo. And I think
Yep.
what? They're getting close to $4 million.
I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, I heard
So,
something.
thank you so much.
Yep.
We'll see you on
Thank you,
on
guys.
the floor next
Thank
to
you,
the Bungie booth.
everybody. We'll see you out there.